You always do this, Lara whispered through a polished smile, her tone light enough for others to miss the weight behind it. You make everything feel heavy. It's just a dance. Those 3 words sounded harmless, but they cut deeper than she intended. I stood there in the middle of a crowded backyard, music humming softly through hidden speakers, laughter floating through the air like nothing was wrong. And right in front of me, my wife slipped out of my reach and into another man's arms. I didn't even know him. Tall, confident, dressed like he belonged somewhere more important. The kind of man who smiled like he had already won something. Maybe he had. You're really doing this? I asked, keeping my voice steady. She didn't answer. Instead, she laughed. Not the quiet laugh she used to share with me, but something louder, something meant to be seen. Then they started moving together, too close for something so casual. Her hand rested on his shoulder just a second too long. She looked at me once. Not with guilt. Not with regret. Just curiosity. Like she was waiting to see how I would react. I didn't react. But inside, something shifted. Have you ever stood in a room full of people who know you, and still felt invisible? That's what it felt like. Watching the person you built your life with act like you were just background noise. We drove home in silence. She scrolled through her phone like nothing had happened. I kept my eyes on the road, gripping the steering wheel harder than necessary. Every passing streetlight felt slower than the last. I wasn't the kind of man who exploded. I didn't shout. I didn't throw things. I remembered. I stored moments. I held on to silence. And when the time came, I made sure it mattered. The next morning felt like any other. Coffee brewing, sunlight creeping through the blinds. She walked into the kitchen as if the night before had never happened. "Did you sleep okay?" she asked casually. "Fine," I replied. She smiled faintly. The party was fun. There it was. The unspoken truth hanging between us. And still, I said nothing. Because sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes, it's the beginning of something far more dangerous. We moved through the house like strangers pretending to remember each other. Small conversations. Polite routines. Empty spaces where something real used to exist. But beneath all of it, something darker had started to grow. It wasn't loud. It didn't demand attention. It just stayed there, slowly spreading. Lara began testing limits in subtle ways. A little more distant. A little more careless. Her phone always angled away. Her time stretched just a bit longer outside the house. Most people would confront it. Ask questions. Demand answers. I didn't. Instead, I watched. Because when someone stops pretending, they eventually reveal everything you need to know. And what I saw wasn't love fading. It was something else entirely. She wasn't searching for connection. She was chasing attention. Validation. The thrill of being wanted by someone new. And I realized something important. I had stopped competing for that a long time ago. That week, I spent more time in the garage than anywhere else. Fixing things that didn't need fixing. Keeping my hands busy so my mind wouldn't spiral. But the truth was, I was thinking. Not about how to fix us. About what came next. One evening, I made a quiet decision. I didn't announce it. I didn't explain it. I just acted. When I pulled into the driveway later that day, the sound of the engine caught her attention immediately. She stepped outside, arms crossed. "What is that?" she asked sharply. "A motorcycle," I said calmly. Her expression shifted from confusion to frustration. "Why would you do something like this without telling me?" I removed my helmet slowly. I wanted something for myself. Her voice rose. "We were planning things. Trips. Saving money. You can't just make decisions like this." I paused for a moment. Seems like we've both been making decisions without talking lately. That hit harder than anything else I could have said. She didn't respond. And I didn't explain. Because this wasn't about rebellion. It was about reclaiming something I didn't even realize I had lost. For the first time in a long time, I felt something real again. Not comfort. Not routine. Freedom. The distance between us didn't explode. It stretched. Slowly, quietly, until it became impossible to ignore. When my birthday came around, I didn't want anything special. No celebration. No attention. But Lara insisted on hosting something small. It'll be good for us, she said, like she was trying to fix something that had already broken. So I let it happen. People came. Laughter filled the house. Music played softly in the background. From the outside, everything looked normal. But I stayed near the edges, watching instead of participating. And then I saw him. The same man from that night. Standing in my house like he belonged there. That wasn't coincidence. That was intention. I glanced at Lara. She noticed him too. But she didn't come to me. Didn't explain. She just kept moving through the room, smiling, pretending everything was fine. Hours passed. At some point, I realized they were both gone. Something in my chest tightened. I checked the kitchen. The backyard. Nothing. Then I heard it. A quiet sound behind a closed door. I didn't hesitate. When I opened it, everything became clear. Too close. Too familiar. Too real to deny. For a moment, the room went completely silent. Then everything moved at once. I didn't think. I reacted. The confrontation spilled out into the open, voices rising, people watching, everything unraveling in seconds. But strangely, I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. The truth had finally revealed itself. And there was nothing left to question. I didn't stay to argue. I didn't stay to listen. Because sometimes, the moment you see everything clearly, is the moment you stop needing explanations. I left that night without looking back. The road stretched ahead of me, empty and quiet. The sound of the engine filled the silence that had been building for weeks. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about what went wrong. I was thinking about what came next. I didn't go home. Instead, I found a place far enough away to breathe. Somewhere neutral. Somewhere that didn't carry memories. That night, I slept better than I had in a long time. Not because things were fixed, but because something had finally ended. When I turned my phone back on later, messages flooded in. Calls. Questions. Concern. I ignored most of them. Except one. A message filled with fear. She thought something had happened to me. For a moment, I considered responding. But then I realized something. It wasn't love that made her panic. It was the loss of control. And those two things are not the same. When I finally returned, everything felt different. Quieter. Smaller. She looked at me like she didn't recognize the person standing in front of her. Maybe she didn't. I handed her the envelope. No arguments. No shouting. Just truth, written clearly. She tried to explain. Tried to justify. But I already understood. An understanding removes the need for excuses. I'm not here to fix this, I said calmly. I'm here to end it. For the first time, she didn't argue. She just stood there, realizing the weight of everything that had happened. And me? I walked away. Not broken. Not angry. Just free. Because sometimes, you don't get closure. You don't get justice. You just get the chance to walk away from something that was never meant to last. And that's enough.